Hey guys, Drifter here. Welcome to Modern Warfare in Depth. In today's episode, we're going to be reviewing the new JAK-12 Shotgun, which, if you haven't noticed, is identical to the AA-12 Shotgun from Modern Warfare 2 and 3. This weapon is unlocked for free in Modern Warfare by getting 3 Hipfire Shotgun kills in 7 different matches. So it's a free weapon, you can do it very quickly. I was able to just get the 3 hipfire kills and quit out of the match. Occasionally it won't count a hipfire kill, I'm not exactly sure why, but it didn't take me very long to get this shotgun unlocked, and I don't think that many of you are going to spend much time doing this either. In my opinion, this is a very good shotgun, and it's also very popular because it's incredibly easy to use, and I think that Beelzebub himself designed this weapon just to make sure your life is very difficult in hardcore modes. This thing really is a broom that sweeps people up in hardcore. It's kind of difficult to deal with, but that's the design they went for, so okay. And of note, it can shoot explosive rounds too. It is a shotgun that can shoot the same explosive rounds that the Barrett 50 cal, the Rytec can. They shred vehicles really effectively in Warzone, especially since they're full auto with this weapon, but in my experience, they're pretty bad against people. They're kind of like slugs, and they kind of go sideways. They don't really have much splash damage. A lot of time it takes 2 hits to kill. Not my favorite way to kill people. And before we get any further into the episode, don't forget that you can use creator code DRIFTOR for your in-game purchases. Call of Duty has a supporter creator code you can put in the store, so if you're buying things, be sure to use my code. The O is a 0, and because of that, this video is sponsored by Activision. The JAK-12 base damage for one full shot point blank to the chest is 204 damage. This means that each pellet that hits is going to be dealing about 25.5 damage per shot, which is incredibly high. That means you only need 4 of them to hit to get a guaranteed one-shot kill up close. So the damage output on the weapon per shot is actually very high. Sometimes these shotguns are coded to be really low where they can't get one-shot kills. This one can definitely one-shot kill. Headshots don't seem to matter, but it does appear to have a steep linear damage drop-off. I think you're going to see a lot of content creators report something like 200 damage or 202 damage, because inches, literally inches, matter how much damage you're dealing with this shotgun. I could step back a millimeter and the damage decreases or increases, so it's got a pretty steep linear damage drop-off for that very high one-shot kill range. The JAK-12 slug damage is 145 to the head, 116 to the chest, and if you're hitting limbs, it's not going to one-shot kill, so it doesn't matter anyway, but you can get one-shot kills with this weapon out to pretty respectable ranges depending on where you hit people. The Dragon's Breath damage is a little bit higher than the weapon's base damage. It's 230 damage total with the burn effect, and that's a nice bonus. I'll let you know. There's some gameplay of that later on, and you'll see me definitely get some burn kills. Unfortunately, that doesn't work quite as well in Warzone because almost everybody is running Flak Jacket, and it seems that the Dragon's Breath has just generally been nerfed for that mode. The weapon does have explosive round damage. The damage for getting a direct hit is the same as the slug, so 146 max to the head, 116 to the body. It does have minor splash damage, and I do want to let you know that it is incredibly minor splash damage. You're not likely to kill anything at all with the splash damage, and the explosive rounds are very inconsistent against people. Sometimes they get one shot, sometimes they get a multi-kill, sometimes they just eat bullets, sometimes I'm missing by millimeters and get 8 hit markers because the splash damage is almost nothing. Using these against people is really not what it's for. JAK-12 rate of fire is 297 rounds per minute with a reload time of exactly 2 seconds. This is an incredibly fast rate of fire for a shotgun and a pretty swift overall reload time for a shotgun. Most shotguns in this game, you're kind of putting in 1 shell at a time, so they can be incredibly slow. 2 seconds is not so bad. And by the way, I don't know if you know this or not, but if you've watched this much of the in-depth episode, you literally could have registered to vote by now. We're getting closer and closer to the election, but there's a lot of states that have pretty late voter registration times. You could literally register to vote today, and I would encourage you to do that. There's a link down there below in the description, and you could probably do it before this episode finishes up. It takes no time at all. Matter of fact, sometimes some states you can register to vote and then just go straight to voting today and be done. The JAK-12 can kill in 1 shot up close, though I would expect an average of 3 shots to kill. I don't really get 1-shot kills unless the enemy is weak, or if I'm not barrel stuffing them. I expect an average of 3, sometimes 2, sometimes 4 or 5 if they're stupidly far away. It's a spam weapon, but if I were you, I would bet on 3 shots to kill more often than not. The 1-shot ranges are pretty small. For the base weapon, it's 3 meters. For the J2800 barrel, it's 3.4 meters. For the JAK barrel, which is the small short barrel option, it will lower your range down to 2.2, and the J3600 barrel will pick it up to 3.5. So not much different between the J2800 and the J3600 barrels right there, though the JAK is significantly lower. The Marauder muzzle attachment, which is both a suppressor and like a choke kind of combined into one, will take your one-shot kill range out to 4.2 meters, which is incredibly impressive, especially since it's not a barrel attachment. The monolithic suppressor is 3.3 meters, an actual choke is 3.1, and the maximum that you get combining the Marauder barrel and the Marauder muzzle and the J3600 barrel is 4.5 meters. The takeaway on this one is that if you want to boost your range, the Marauder does pretty much all the work, and anything else is honestly kind of an inefficiency. You could do something better, so just put the Marauder on and you've pretty much already maxed out the range on your gun. The range boost for this weapon feel more important for your mid-range damage than anything else. In my experience, they don't really help me get a lot of one-shot kills up close. I don't feel like it's really popping people, but when I boost the range on the weapon, it does feel more consistent when spraying people down. Instead of maybe taking 5 shots, it would take 4 or 3 at medium range, and that's really what you're wanting to improve by adding range attachments to this weapon. And yes, the JAK-12 can kill very fast in Warzone. It functions very similarly to the R9O, or the annoying and now removed from ground loot Origin 12. It's just like that. You can pick it up, you can spam people into the ground, you can cheese them into unfavorable fights. In my opinion, it's best with the regular ammo. The explosive ammo is inconsistent. I mean, it's good to shred vehicles, not so great against people. As we discussed earlier, Dragon's Breath has been nerfed in Warzone, and a lot of people are going to be running Flak Jacket anyway, so the little damage hit you take there is going to be pretty significant. I think you're going to be happier with just the 20 or 32 round mags just to spam people in Warzone. Let's talk about aim down sights times now, because these are actually kind of slow for a shotgun. Base aim down sights time is 333 milliseconds. The J2800 barrel is the same, oddly. The JAK barrel, the small one, we get a few frames faster at 283 milliseconds, and the big barrel is significantly slower at 285 milliseconds. So you're definitely going to notice the last two barrels changing your range or your ADS speeds. The TAC laser, pretty impressive, 283 milliseconds, so about 3-4 frames faster there. The ZLR Tsunami stock attachment saves you 1 frame ADS. 20 round mag doesn't seem to impact the weapon. The 32 round mag does impact the weapon just as much as adding a heavy barrel, and stippled grip tape is going to save you 1 frame just like that Tsunami barrel. Sprint out times are pretty similar. They kind of mirror each other. The base sprint out time is 333 milliseconds. The 5 milliwatt laser has a massive improvement, which is 233. That's the number I was looking at because I wanted to tell you, you pretty much get everything you need out of a sprint out time with just the 5 milliwatt laser by itself. And the stippled will save you 2 frames on this, which isn't half bad. So stippled's not a terrible attachment. Saves you 1 frame on ADS and 2 on sprint out. So it's definitely worth considering, but that 5 milliwatt laser is really going to be doing most of the work. In general, lasers will help most with ADS or sprint out times compared to other attachments. I mean, adding the TAC laser or the 5 milliwatt laser along with the Marauder muzzle is really the most important attachments you can put on the weapon, and everything else is kind of optional. You put any combination of those on there and you've got a very efficient weapon. Speaking of efficiency, Hipfire Spread is functionally very good and tight for this shotgun. They definitely could have made it wider. I think that the Origin and the R9O can get incredibly wide. But given how this shotgun works and the range that it can kill people and its overall consistency, I think that it feels very good. It feels sane for the weapon. You actually don't want the Hipfire Spread for this weapon to get too tight, because then what'll happen is you will miss your up-close engagements and you won't be able to spray down groups as easily. So having some width to the spread is a nice thing. In my opinion, I think that most of the other shotguns are technically better weapons than the JAK-12. Most of the other shotguns have a better one-shot range, have a better medium damage range, have bigger, different multipliers on Dragon's Breath and other like really cool, unique attachments. But the JAK-12 is super easy to use, and therefore it's going to perform better for most players, including myself. It takes actually no brain power whatsoever to use the JAK-12. Walk into a room, hold down the trigger, drop your 32 rounds, spam everything that moves. and you're going to get some kills. It's not a complicated weapon to use. It doesn't have a lot of flaws, so I think a lot of players gravitate toward it for that ease of use. If you're playing a hyper competitive match, if you're doing search and destroy or something more serious, probably a different shotgun, but for like 90% of your matches, having a JAK-12 to pull out as your secondary overkill weapon, or just in general, is a really solid choice because it's so versatile is the word I'm looking for. It's an incredibly versatile weapon. Its purpose in both multiplayer and Warzone is to be a room clearing spam shotgun. It's literally the same function as the Origin 12. You walk into a room, you hold down the trigger, you point it at anything that moves, you put buckshot downstream, you hose everything, all spray, no pray, and you're going to kill people. It's a very simple. I wish I could tell you there was some elite strategy that required in depth, like, oh yeah, you gotta have this attachment, you gotta set yourself up here and it works well in this niche. No, it doesn't do any of that. You could be outrageously drunk walking around the map with this shotgun and still kill people. At the end of the episode, I've got two classes to recommend to you. The first is J-Hub's ranged JAK-12 shotgun class, the one that he got the best performance with, which is the J3600 barrel, the Marauder muzzle attachment, 5mm laser, 32 round mags, and sleight of hand. His does work. It definitely works really well for longer range engagements. You're getting 3-shot kills out at pretty impressive ranges with this setup. However, in my opinion, it was a little bit on the slow side for me when it came to movement, so I made my own Drifters Rushing Maniac class with the smallest barrel, still put the Marauder muzzle on there to kind of cancel it out. Same mags, but I run stippled and 5mm laser, and I'm really fast with this one. This one just kind of lets me move super fast, though I gotta admit, it's kind of poopy at long ranges. I could easily take 6 or 7 shots, so if you really want to go for long shots, use J-Hub's class. If you want to rush and get up in people's faces, mine's probably going to allow you to react a little bit faster. Guys, that is all for this episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something useful. I also hope that you register to vote, and if you did any of those things, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.